Yo, what's up, guys? It's your boy Bernie here along with Pete.
Yo, what up, boys?
And today, guys, we got the Gimmick Cast, which is infused with some couple sports things. We got to talk about it. The fake news that is Kevin Love's legitimate sickness. We got Monday Night Raw, 25 years, retrospect. What do we think about the show? And many more things to talk about.
Some breaking news, too. We'll talk about that right after this.
Let's get started here on the Gimmick Cast.
Did you see that?
All right, guys. So if you guys don't know, after the whole Oklahoma City loss, there's still more things to talk about with this CAVS team. It feels like every day there's some sort of things leaking out that people want to be leaked out. And the next thing that was leaked out was the fact that the players are challenging Kevin Love's legitimacy when he said he was sick.
Yeah.
Do you want to give a little bit more retrospect on what happened?
Well, so did he leave early in the game in the Thunder game? I can't remember. Did he start that game and then he left?
Yeah.
So he left and then he didn't come to practice on Sunday.
Yeah.
Right. And the Cavaliers held a fiery meeting, as I keep reading in the headlines. Yeah. A fiery meeting, very emotional, of a bunch of marquee players on the Cavaliers calling Kevin Love out for leaving. They didn't think he was actually sick. They just said he didn't want to play.
Also to include in that meeting was the coach, Ty Lue, and, of course, the general manager, Kobe Altman. So I guess the real question is, should the players have a right, or should the players really be upset at Kevin Love for this incident, if it's true or not true, or what do you think about it?
So if it is true, I understand being upset about it.
Mm-hmm.
But from an outside perspective, it doesn't really matter for the team. Like, their defense wasn't going to get better with Kevin Love that game, which is like the reason they lost is they had one of the worst defensive performances I've ever seen. I think a lot of people have ever seen, especially from a team of the caliber of the Cavaliers. So saying that the reason you guys lost or whatever the case may be is because Kevin Love didn't want to play and he left the game early, he's probably your worst defender on the team, or one of them, maybe one of the three worst defenders on the team. So blaming him for a loss that you guys lost, doesn't really matter. Your defense should have been better with him off the court, and it was way worse. So I don't know. I think it's silly, but it just seems like a toxic environment. So they're going to find any reason to be upset with somebody or blame their problems on somebody.
Yeah, that's what it seems like to me. I feel like they're going to try to find some way somehow to blame their deficiencies on defense and ability to stop the top players on a guy that has been historically known of being a bad defender.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make any sense to me, because even though Kevin Love is a bad defender, it still doesn't negate the fact that other players on the Cavaliers are not defending as well. Jay Crowder was brought in. We talked about it yesterday. I don't think I put out the video yet. I'll probably put it out later today. But we talked about Jay Crowder and how we've been very disappointed in how he was supposed to be like that good trade piece for the Cavs when they got Isaiah Thomas, him, and a first-round pick, Brooklyn's pick. He was supposed to be that defensive player. It turns out he's not as a defensive stopper as a lot of people initially thought.
Yeah.
So, to me, I feel like this just kind of leads into, why are we blaming Kevin Love for everything that goes bad? I feel like he's kind of like turned into the scapegoat of the Cavaliers, which I feel like is unjustifiably unfair. Yeah. I mean, if we saw Kevin Love's numbers before Isaiah Thomas was even there, they were a lot higher.
Yeah, like he was playing a lot better before Isaiah Thomas started playing. Isaiah Thomas is taking a lot of shots, and he's not very efficient as of right now. In the time he's been back, he's been very inefficient. So, I mean, it's everybody's problem. And honestly, this is just a conspiracy theory because we don't know who it was that was calling him out.
Yeah.
I'm curious if it was LeBron or not. I feel like it wasn't him.
No. I don't know. It's just interesting because, of course, they've had the past with LeBron, with Kevin Love, and of course, the infamous picture of fit in or fit out, where he was not included in the picture and then he photoshopped himself in.
Yeah.
Just all that banter. It just kind of leads me to believe that the Cavaliers environment, like you said, is just toxic.
Yeah, they just need to change it all up.
Like, the thing is, I feel like you need a coach like a Brad Stevens, and I think we'll talk about Brad Stevens in a little bit, but just a coach like that, or like we talked about, a David Fitzdale, a Mark Jackson, just someone that could bring in the whole culture and just raise everybody's level up a notch. Too many times I feel like Tyronn Lue is more of the buddy coach.
Yeah.
Which at times works because he is LeBron's guy. Mm-hmm. But in other times it just doesn't work, especially when you go through this kind of slumping period where you don't know what you're going to do. So,
and just like the way that this story has been written about too is just like it proves that Tyronn Lue point in the sense that like he's just there at this meeting, you know? They don't even say that he's one of the people who was really upset with Kevin Love. They more say it's players that are upset with Kevin Love and calling him out, and people are emotional. But it just sounds like Tyronn Lue is just there. He doesn't even sound like the coach in this story, you know? He should be the one that's like, you know, roasting him in front of the team. Like, what are you doing? Like, you need to be out on the court. You're one of our best players. Get out there. Don't fake being sick or you're gone. But that's not the way the story's written in my eyes. I've read it a couple times and I didn't see that.
Yeah, I mean, if we look in the article here on ESPN, basically it's just saying that the Cavs struggles are directed at everyone from Love to Isaiah Thomas to Tyronn Lue, the front office, Dan Gilbert even.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, he could probably be blamed for a lot of things. But, you know, it's just kind of crazy to me that it's kind of gotten to this point where, you know, we've never heard stories like this before in terms of from the Cavaliers or like a top echelon team.
Yeah.
You know, we hear from the Wizards. We hear from, right now, the Bucks.
Yeah.
With their situation with Jason Kidd.
Usually bad teams with bad, you know, just all bad.
Yeah. So it's really surprising to see a top team. I mean, obviously, if we go translate it to the NFL, the Seahawks have had this type of situation before with locker room toxicity. Yeah. I just don't know what to think of it. And in the terms of, is this going to really help the Cavs be productive and find a solution? Or is this just kind of like, let's try to find someone to blame so I can get the hell out of Dodge for next season?
What it boils down to is like when you have whatever team it is, right? The Seahawks or the Cavaliers, you have a ton of big personalities, even in the players who aren't necessarily stars. Like J.R. Smith is a big personality.
Yeah.
And not just calling him out, but they have a bunch of players that are like that. When you have all these guys and anything goes wrong, everybody gets upset, you know, and all the personalities start to clash, and that's the same exact thing that happened with like Richard Sherman and all those guys on the Seahawks. You know, they just got super upset, and you know, the personalities start to, you know, hit up against each other, and they just, you know, it creates some tension that shouldn't necessarily be there. Mm-hmm. And not only that, but the NBA just in general, my favorite league, but it's got to be the most sensitive league of any sport I've ever seen. Like, everybody's upset about everything. And just go back, just look at all the headlines of NBA stuff that happened on January 22nd of 2018 and tell me it's not a sensitive league of players. You know, you had Damian Lillard, you had the Kawhi Leonard. I mean, there's 15 different stories that came out. Kevin Durant upset with Clint Capella saying that, you know, it's just everybody's upset about something. That's what it is. Yeah. But then when you have a team of players who are generally outspoken all together, this is the kind of situation that arises in that situation.
Yeah, I mean, last thing I'll say, like you said, this league has a bunch of, they're mad at something for some reason. It doesn't matter what it is. I mean, we talked about it, refs, players, coaches. It just doesn't matter. I think we're seeing a very interesting time in basketball right now where we are seeing a lot more of the stuff behind the scenes. Not only because of social media, it's because the players are actually putting it out there for people to report on and for people to speculate what's going on.
I agree. I don't have anything to add on this one. I think it's just Cavaliers just need to change it up.
Yeah, I mean, like we've been talking about, what do you guys think of the situation? Do you think Kevin Love is wrong for this? Do you think the blame is on Kevin Love, or do you think it's on someone else? Just let us know in the comments down below.